Well, howdy, y'all. This is Market Explainer. We are the business news podcast. Before we jump into our first story, I want to let you guys know you can go to patreon.com/Market Explainer.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be rolling out some exclusive content over there. We're going to be, I think a big man doesn't know this, but we're going to take some of those personality tests. we're gonna talk about how, Myers-Briggs and Enneagram and all that stuff, how our differences in personality and similarities in personality, we're going to do some of that stuff. That's going to live over there. I think we're starting out with a $5 tier, and then we'll move on from there.
Yeah. And you'll be able to access content early. You'll be able to, we're going to do some unique content where, again, we make fun of Danny and stuff like that, really show the fact that he doesn't know anything, that kind of stuff. We'll let him do some of that. And
then what we're really going to do is we're going to display how I carry the show on my back. So.
Sure you will. Sure. Everybody that watches this podcast knows that Danny carries the show.
That's right. Sure. That's why I have such muscular quads. So this next story we pulled from Wall Street Journal.
Yep.
And the headline is, these people who work from home have a secret. They have two jobs. And the basic premise here is that some people figured out that they could just have two jobs, and this was a revelation to them.
Okay, so let me clarify that. Is this a story about Danny loves scammy stories and these people are getting away with two jobs, or is it a story of Overemployed.com? Because we need to talk about both. It's both. So this guy, I want to say the story starts out telling about the specific story of a guy who realized when he went to go work from home that he could have more than one job. Now, I just want to point something out. Okay, I don't care about race at all, but I was raised by, my parents. There's no but. When you say but, I don't want to offend anybody, but go ahead.
Well, my intention isn't to offend anybody. If I do, I just don't care. I'm just saying that's not my intention.
All of Danny's opinions are Danny's opinions. They are not,
that's correct.
Of
I don't represent Market Explainer as correct. But I find it interesting when a certain kind of white person, a yuppie, like big man will call them a yuppie, and from these hipster types who are like, oh my goodness, I just discovered, and then fill in the blank. Because my mom was always like this home remedies type person. And now it's all the rage of take supplements and vitamins and all
use honey instead of antibiotic. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, exactly. Or, coconut oil is actually good for you, or eat eggs and the yolk. And my mom was always like, why would anybody use Crisco or margarine? Use real butter. It's healthy for you.
Right.
Now that's all so fashionable. But the people who embrace it like we just discovered. It's like we discovered America, okay?
Right. Yeah. You didn't discover artisan cheese, okay? No,
yes.
No.
All cheese was artisan before it was manufactured the way it was.
So your take is the fact that because old white, or hipster white in this case, created a website about something that you think that certain groups of people have done forever anyway.
My father had two jobs for the longest time. My father used to, before working from home was a thing, my dad had a fancy printer, he had all this stuff. He would come home from his one job, he would say hello to the kids, say hello to my mother, and then he would go downstairs and go to work at his other job. And that's the immigrant story of my family. That's how he paid for things like for us to go to college, and my parents have a nice big house. That's how he afforded those things, was with another job.
Well, look, there's a difference between having a lot of people have 2 or 3 jobs. When I was young, I had 3 jobs. There were days that I didn't sleep. I worked 24/7 because I went from job to job. There's a difference between having 3 jobs and what they're referring to here. What they're referring to here, and what you said, and which is why I said Danny's drawn to scammy stories. We all know this. Is they're talking about people have figured out that now that they're at home working from home, that to do what is asked of them, right? To do what is asked of them, of most people that work at home, does not necessarily take 40 hours a week. And if I'm not going to use 40 hours a week, why don't I take 20 of those 40 and do a second job that the first job doesn't know about? We're not going to tell them that I'm using their company time to double dip into another time. So that the theory is of this, what is it, overemployed, is that I'm taking the same amount of time that one job is paying me to do two jobs because you technically can, right? That's why I say this is more about the website. And here's the deal. Not only are they like telling you, hey, this is something, but let me read you the disclaimer of Overemployed at the bottom of the website. Disclaimer: Overemployed exists to thought provoke and enable community discussion. Your decisions are yours alone, and we are in no way responsible for your actions. You alone determine the right path for your career and financial decisions. Basically, anything that you read on this thought-provoking website, if you get fired because you're using company time to get paid by someone else, do not come back to us and try to sue us or anything like that. So they know it's scammy behavior. Like, they know
Okay. When you say scammy behavior, here's where I'm thinking. If they're fulfilling their promise to both corporations, to both jobs,
right,
I don't think it's scammy behavior. Right?
See, this is one of those rare where I agree with you, except it's not the... Look, in life we have these things that are illegal, and then we have these things that are, whether you want to use immoral or, you know what I mean, unethical, whatever. There's a gray area there that it's not illegal. This is not illegal. And in this article, it cites several lawyers that say, look, this is not illegal. However, every company finds out you do it, they're going to fire you, right? So
yeah, they're not going to be happy with you.
Right. It's not illegal, but I would consider it unethical. But I wish, like you just said, I've argued this point for years, that I don't know when employers decided that it was not about execution of processes, that it was about time, right?
Right.
That I want you to work 40 hours a week, and maybe it was a way to push people as hard as they could for that 40 hours a week, which is why you have such middle management fat in most companies. Is their job is to put pressure on employees to work as much as they can for 40 hours a week, instead of, I'm going to pay you to get this done. Once you're done, I don't care whether you go home. I don't care what you do.
Right. So I think it's an industrial age. Like, this is, maybe I'm pulling from Robert Kiyosaki, but like, it's an old industrial age concept that we're going to take the concept of factory workers and 40 hours a week. Because if you're working a factory line,
right,
that 40 hours directly correlates to output, right?
This many screws, you're tightening this many screws
you're
every hour.
This many doors on Ford Tauruses, which they don't make anymore, but you're putting this many doors on them, and that's how. But this doesn't correlate to that. And I think what happens is corporations are massive corporations that exist in the United States or the world right now. Mm-hmm. They are naturally bureaucratic. They're like governments. They're like the Titanic. It's impossible to turn these things around. And so rather than create efficient systems that say, hey, we can track exactly how much you're getting done. We can track your efficiency. And just saying, hey, in a X number of days, like, here's what you get paid for X number, this volume of efficiency. Rather than doing that, they just go, well, 40 hours is a good, decent enough measurement. And I think what's going to happen in the coming years is, because people are working from home, they're going to start figuring out how, because right now we're having the argument in the marketplace about, well, we want you to come back to the office. But there's, for a lot of reasons.
Guess what's happening in the world today? That's not happening either. A lot of major employers have already pushed to 2022. Even the ones that were saying, hey, come back, come back, come back. We have what's going on in the world right now. Everybody knows what's going on in the world right now. And companies now that we're pulling are now going, all right, we get it, we get it.
And enough of them have outs in their leases that say, hey, we can downsize your office space, right? I don't know how Sam Zell is doing. He's the country's largest owner of office space. What a bummer for that guy.
Yeah, it's got to be a rough go right now.
So what they're doing here is so there was a guy, I want to say maybe 5 or 6 years ago, that got caught. Indian guy. I want to say he was Indian. I'm not sure, but he had taken 4 contracts, and he oversaw them as he outsourced them. So he took the jobs.
I remember that. But again, I thought good for him. Like, if the job was getting done and they were, because that was part of the article, is his bosses were happy until they found out he was outsourcing. He was doing his job.
Right. So, and here's the thing. This is that job, that article. That's a lot of what I do as an entrepreneur. My main company, Real Mark Agency. I oversee people as they outsource things. I know how to get things done, but I oversee someone else as they do it, because I can watch 20 people do 20 projects in the amount of time it takes me to do one.
Right.
So, but I'm saying where Big Man is saying it's schemy and skeevy is they're kind of promising that there's a imaginary clause in their contract, right? There's a belief that this is the only job you're going to have. And listen, I tell this to women all the time after they find out I have more than one girlfriend, which is like, well, I never said I was going to be excluded. You thought that.
I have no problem. Yes, exactly. I can't be responsible for your thoughts and processes.
You thought that I was being lovey-dovey. And part of the article and part of the story is that they feel like wages have been stagnant. And here's me, this isn't a political show. I'm just saying, in the 70s, the U.S. removed its gold standard. That was Nixon.
Sure. Yeah.
And when that happened, if you look at cost, prices of things, wages, inflation, 1971, Jack Dorsey of Twitter just tweeted this a week or two ago. What the frick happened in I think it was 1971? That is a nexus point for wages being stagnant and everything, and the prices of everything going up. And and I'm a guy who believes in a totally unfettered free market. But what I'm about to say sounds a little like, Bernie Sanders, but that's not what I am. I'm just saying these companies are screwing people in one way, shape, and it's not their fault. It's just the way things are. The system is screwing people.
Well,
this is corporations.
This is that part of the other part of the article, right? They make 2 points. 1, you can do this; it's not illegal, right, or whatever. 2 is what you just said. They're justifying, in my opinion, their scammy, unethical behavior by saying 2 things. 1, what you just said. Look, they're paying you, right, stagnant. They're giving you a 2% raise per year, right, which is basically inflation, yada, yada, yada. So you're never getting ahead. The other point that they're making is, and this again is true, I've preached this for 20 years, is your company has no loyalty to you. So they can fire you at any time that it's fine for them. So why shouldn't you take a proactive in your own career? However, anything you have to keep secret is probably in a gray area.
So I'm taking a very Ayn Randian approach to this, which is do what's right for you, and everyone else can eat it, right? Middle finger to the sky. Now, I don't know how this works on your resume when you go to get another job, which is like I was working these 2 at the same time.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because here's the other thing about why I say Overemployed is a big part of this story, the website. Is because I thought at first when I started going through their website, they've got a lot of articles and a lot of posts and a lot of, whatever, and I'm like, okay. This is, somebody's got to be making money somewhere, right? Yeah. And I found 2 interesting parts of this website. 1, of course, they're coming out with a book that they would love you to pre-order for $50, of course, right? That is $50. And then on top of that,
scam. That's the real scam right there.
No, here's the real scam. On top of that, if you read their website and you know this is scammy behavior and it's making you feel uncomfortable, and you want their professional help to help you get over those fears, you can create a 30-minute appointment they'll help you create a resume to get a second job and help you with interview skills, I'm guessing, so that you don't give up what, that you're on. For 30 minutes, you want to take a wild guess of what it costs to 30 minutes for these?
$120.
$499.
Well,
for 30 minutes of these people's professional time. 60 minutes is $9.99 and 90 minutes is $1,300.
And so, by the way, we're not talking about people who are doing menial accounting work, right, or bookkeeping.
No.
We're talking about people in the, it's safe to say a lot of these people cited here, 6-figure Silicon Valley earners that are,
they're programmers, they're developers, they're artists, and you know what I mean, CAD designers and stuff. These are people that get a job, and the company expects it to take 80 hours, and it takes this guy 30 because he knows what he's doing, so he can go out and get another CAD design or engineering or whatever, right, they're doing, and do the same thing. They think it's going to take X, but it only takes him Y. That's it. That's all. And if you fall into one of these categories, this is a possibility. My problem is, and this again, in my opinion, unethical behavior creates unethical behavior. You cannot, this company is asking you to do something, Overemployed, right? As a company. I'm sure it's a LLC to protect these two guys, right?
Yeah, of course.
Because even in his original story, he says, I wanted to do this years ago, but I couldn't because I was sitting in a cubicle and I was afraid to get caught. Like, so I couldn't do it then, but I can do it now. But the point is that the scammy behavior, they're asking you to do something that is in a gray area of unethicalness. So is it really that surprising if they're also going to try to steal your money and give you probably what's not a great product?
Well, it's not stealing because I don't have to pay for it. I don't have to buy their time.
Okay.
Value is subjective. And again, so let me just clarify my position here, right? My view is you don't owe anybody anything.
Right.
Right? You having loyalty to a faceless corporation, again, narco-capitalist. I'm not Bernie Sanders here, right? Let's just clarify that just before anyone start waving the rose and the hand flag here.
Mm-hmm.
There is no value proposition to having loyalty to people who have no loyalty to you.
I don't necessarily sit completely on that. I believe we have a responsibility to adhere to what we've agreed to.
Yeah, and so here's the thing. I am a guy who says, if you want me to do something, enumerate it in the contract.
Right.
Don't say, well, it's like at the end of that movie, The Founder, it's about McDonald's.
Right.
He said, well, I can't put this part of the deal in the contract where he's going to give them the founders of McDonald's, I think it's $1 million a year or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, we'll figure it out or something. Like, we're going to do it on a handshake. He ain't going to do it. Right? And when times get tough, they're going to cut you loose if they have to. Happen to me.
No, absolutely. Companies are going to do that. But I guess my point of view on this is there's got to be, and there is, an ethical way to do this. And the ethical way to do this is to contract labor your work out. Then you can do as many jobs as you want. But they're wanting to, as they say, have their cake and eat it too. This guy even states in here, when I say scammy behavior, these are the little red flags for me. One of the things the guy said in here is he took company given paid time off, saying that he was COVID related stressed, right? Okay, to do another contract. So he took 30 days off of his paid contract, while continuing to get paid. He admits that he lied to get it, to do another contract for 30 days. Now again, just become a contract labor guy and you can do 15 jobs at a time. Who cares?
Right.
But this person, what they're suggesting is you lie to your main employer to continue to get the hourly wage, 40-hour week salary benefit, while taking these other riskier contract jobs.
Well, I know a guy who was working where I used to work, and he got his paternity leave, right?
Yeah.
And while he was on paternity leave, went and got another job and was working on paternity leave. They had really, really generous paternity leave, and he went to go work at a different gig while he was doing that.
Look, again, and see, that one to me is not really, that to me doesn't even fall into this scammy category. He took, you have that time that's available to you. He took it to find a better opportunity. And look, everybody out there that's employed, you should this is the other thing I wish people, and I do not consider this scammy at all. I consider this actually something every adult human being should do. You should never stop looking for a better opportunity.
That's right.
Period. I don't care whether you're an hourly employee, a salaried employee, an entrepreneur, whatever. You should never stop looking for a better opportunity. Period. You should always. The problem is people start like an hourly job or a salary job, and then they're like, no, this is what I do now. And until they're going to be fired or until they can't take it anymore, then they start looking for other employment. No, your responsibility to you and your family is a daily responsibility of looking for the next bigger, better opportunity.
And when your mindset is like that, it changes how you look for work and it changes how you do your work. And what I don't think people factor in is that when you wait till you're burned out, or you wait till you're fired, or you wait till you have to quit, when you're changing jobs at that point, you're in a completely different headspace. You're irritated.
Absolutely.
You're going into a job. When you're 2 years into a job you love, where the third and fourth year are going to be hell, and you go, hey, there's this new opportunity at a company on the other side of town or in another state, or I can work from home, or whatever the situation is. When you go into it like that, and then you find out, oh, hey, like you're happy, you're perky. No, I love this job, and if it doesn't work out, it's fine. For some reason, right, the universe just has a way of, if you're doing it when you're happy and you're doing it when you don't need to, it always works out better than if you waited till you had to do it. And then it's always like, ugh.
Agreed.
You know?
And so my two things to take away the story to kind of wrap it up. I don't lie to your employer. Just become a contract employee, which I think is the future anyway. Do a job, get paid for it, go on about your business. And the next one, the more you do that, the more money you'll be able to make from each job, the higher negotiation, all that stuff. Just do it that way. I think that's the future, because I think companies want the best person for the job. The way to do that is to go out and hire someone to do that one job instead of paying somebody on, there's so many companies out there that pay people to do things that they don't need around 40 hours a week.
Correct.
They just don't. So it would be better for the company and better for the employees, at least good employees. The problem is, for bad employees, that environment sucks because they would get paid less. A bad IT person makes less money on the open market than a good IT person. A bad software developer makes less money on the open market than a good software developer.
And my takeaway from this is, it's not lying if you never promised somebody you weren't going to do something. It's none of their freaking business. You're a free human being created by the creator of the universe. Do whatever you want. Do what suits your interests. And you don't have to put a corporation's interest. Screw that. You don't have to put a single human being's interest before your own. That concept that has permeated our society is disgusting. You don't have to put someone's interest before yourself. They ain't going to do that for you.
That fits Danny's personality entirely, and I don't completely agree with it. But that's where we are at, folks.